Good evening. In the news tonight, a fatal accident south of Vincennes, and the wife of a murdered Tennessee minister has confessed to killing him.
In sports, a judge has denied a request by Barry Bonds' attorneys to keep the authors of a book about the giant slugger from profiting from the book. And the NCAA basketball
Is next. One person is dead, another seriously injured following an accident this morning involving two semis and a car on US 41 south of Vincennes. The accident, which happened near the intersection of Hess Road, is under investigation by the Knox County Sheriff's Department. Further details on the accident are not available. Traffic on US 41 was brought to a standstill for about 3 hours until the wreckage was cleared. It had been moved to the southbound lane for paving about a week ago. A Vincennes man was killed this morning when his coal truck was hit by a train on State Road 56 in Hazleton. The Gibson County Sheriff's Department says 55-year-old Anthony Wilson was killed. The accident remains under investigation. The Jackson County prosecutor has agreed not to seek the death sentence in exchange for a guilty plea by a man accused of killing a 10-year-old Crothersville girl last year. 39-year-old Anthony Stockelman of Seymour entered his plea this morning. Prosecutor Stephen Pearson says he will seek life without the possibility of parole for Stockelman. Sentencing is scheduled for April 17th. Stockelman pleaded guilty to molesting and killing Caitlin Katie Coleman, who was missing for 5 days before her body was found in January of 2005 in a creek about 15 miles from her home. Investigators say DNA evidence links Stockelman to the crime. President Bush says the difference is clear between the two parties on how to sustain the U.S. economic recovery. Speaking at an Indianapolis fundraiser for Republican Congressman Mike Sodrell, Bush attempted to draw a sharp contrast between the two parties' economic policies. He said people should vote Republican. The visit is expected to bring in more than $500,000 for Sodrell, who is expected to face a tight re-election battle against former Representative Barron Hill in southern Indiana's 9th Congressional District. Knox County Sheriff's deputies trying to serve a warrant at the Maple Park Apartments in Vincennes yesterday did not find their man, but did find a meth lab in the apartment he was suspected of being in. 21-year-old Thomas Wingard, who lived in the apartment, was arrested for manufacturing meth and maintaining a common nuisance. Wingard gave deputies permission to search the apartment for the man they were looking for. During the search, they spotted numerous materials used to manufacture meth. The Sheriff's Department says the investigation continues and that charges are pending against other tenants of the apartment. This is the third large-scale lab found by the Sheriff's Department within the past week. Spent time in work release and on probation after pleading guilty to a charge of possession of methamphetamine. Knox County Superior Court 1 Judge Tim Crawley sentenced 30-year-old Charles Wyant to 3 years in prison Thursday. He then suspended the sentence to 1 year in work release and 2 years formal probation. A bag of meth was found on Wyant in March of 2002 while he was being booked into the Knox County Jail on an unrelated charge. A tube included in the Vincennes Catholic School System 2006-2007 budget. The school board tentatively finance committee says the raises keep Vincennes Catholic schools competitive with other schools in the Evansville diocese. In anticipation of higher utility and insurance costs, Halter says the finance committee budgeted $70,000 for utilities and an increase of nearly $12,000. And he says health insurance costs are expected to go up nearly 15%. The school board is expected to adopt the budget at its April meeting. In other business last night, the Vincennes Catholic School Board renewed the contracts of Reveille Principal Dustin Hitt and Feliget Elementary Principal Janice Jones for the 2006-2007 school year. The contract extensions followed an executive session to review the job performance of both principals. In announcing the contract extension, School Board President David Niehaus said both Hitt and Jones are doing an excellent job. With the 2006 session of the Indiana General Assembly history, area lawmakers will meet at Vincennes University Saturday for for the final Meet Your Legislators Forum of the year. The forum will get underway at 9 a.m. Saturday at Vincennes University's Davis Hall. Area lawmakers have been invited to attend. For those of you who can't make it to the studio, the program will be aired live on WVUT-TV and WVUB Radio. You can phone in questions or email them. The program will be rebroadcast on WVUT at 5 o'clock Saturday afternoon. Still to come on Newscenter 22, the wife of a murdered Tennessee minister confesses to killing her husband, and the vacation is open for more than 2,600 guests on her cruise ship damaged by fire. Stay with us. Tennessee authorities say Mary Winkler has confessed to the shooting death of her husband Matthew, a minister whose body was found on Wednesday. She was found in Alabama yesterday with the couple's 3 young daughters and has agreed to return to Tennessee to face charges of first-degree murder. A Tennessee Bureau of Investigation agent says authorities are charging her with first-degree murder in Matthew Winkler's death. Members of his congregation found him in the church-supplied home after he missed a service Wednesday. Police say the children's grandparents are asking for temporary custody. Arizona has put out arrest warrants for a husband and wife who until Tuesday were trapped in the snow in their family RV in Oregon. An Arizona sheriff's official tells an Oregon newspaper that he saw Elbert and Becky Higginbotham on TV after they were rescued. Deputy Commander Kelly Clark says the two were arrested last year, but never charged because they promised to cooperate with law enforcement. Clark tells the Ashland Daily Tidings that was the last he saw of them until their faces showed up on news coverage this week. Elbert Higginbotham is wanted on felony drug possession and weapons charges. The charges against his wife include possession of drugs and paraphernalia. New home sales dropped 10.5% last month. Today's report from the Commerce Department indicates the biggest monthly decline in nearly 9 years. It is the second straight monthly drop and is much larger than what analysts were expecting. Predictions of a slowdown have been coming for a while after setting records for 5 straight years. International outrage is growing tonight over a possible execution of an Afghan who had converted from Islam to Christianity. Muslim clerics in Afghanistan are strongly supporting prosecution, saying unless 41-year-old Abdul Rahman reverts to Islam, he deserves to die. Under Afghan and Islamic law, he could be executed. Australia's Prime Minister John Howard says the idea that somebody could be punished because of religious belief, let alone executed, is just beyond belief. At least 29 people have died in a continuing string of drive-by shootings, roadside bombings, and other violence in Iraq today. The Army says 5 worshipers were killed and 15 wounded when a bomb went off outside a Sunni mosque northeast of Baghdad. Meanwhile, American and Iraqi troops are sweeping the oil-rich region of Kirkuk today. They've captured dozens of suspected insurgents on a day when violence has taken at least 29 more lives in Iraq. Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld says the level of forces in Iraq will depend on conditions on the ground and the recommendations of the commanders. Rumsfeld says he won't predict when American troops will be out of Iraq. Meanwhile, the Defense Secretary didn't flinch in a news conference at the Pentagon Thursday afternoon. He says he's not even listening to the rising chorus of voices on Capitol Hill who want him to resign. Rumsfeld took on reporters, including CNN's Jamie McIntyre, who asked about some of the high-ranking lawmakers and former military officers who have recently raised the issue of his competence.
Another day, another testy exchange.
Do you feel at all embattled at this point in your tenure?
No.
Given the fact that,
No.
aside from the retired 2-star general calling you incompetent and asking you to step down in an op-ed over the weekend, we also had a column from Maureen Dowd in which he quoted an unnamed administration official saying that you don't hold the same sway in meetings and that you're treated as, quote, an eccentric old uncle who's ignored.
I see. You like to repeat all that stuff, don't you? On camera, did you get that? Let's make sure you got it. He loves that stuff. It's a sure way to get on camera. He'll be on the evening news.
Sound familiar? It should. Donald Rumsfeld has been facing questions like this for as long as the Iraq War has been controversial. Over weapons of mass destruction, the Abu Ghraib prison scandal.
It's not just the little person at the bottom who ought to pay the price of responsibility.
And now the brewing threat of civil war.
I called for him being fired a year ago. I called for him being fired 9 months ago. I called for him being fired 3 months ago.
And his answer? It's always the same.
Those kinds of calls have been going on for 5+ years, and the president has asked me not to get involved in politics, and that's politics.
In other words, he serves at the pleasure of the president, a president who has never shown any inclination to fire his top lieutenants when the going gets rough. Over the years, Rumsfeld's judgment has often been questioned, never more so than now. Just recently, he drew fire for suggesting a pullout from Iraq would be like handing Germany back to the Nazis.
You know, that is really absolutely crazy to anyone who knows history.
But no one has suggested he's done anything corrupt. There's no shortage of voices calling for Rumsfeld to think about getting out, among Democrats and some Republicans, at least privately. But no one with the stature of, say, Senate Foreign Relations Chairman Dick Lugar has called on him to step down.
I think I will leave that to the president.
And on the Rumsfeld question, should he stay or should he go, there's only one voice that really matters.
No, I don't believe he should resign.
And there's your answer. Joe Johns, CNN, Washington.
They're getting their money back, along with a flight home from Jamaica. About 2,600 passengers from a cruise ship that caught fire in the Caribbean are being flown home today and tomorrow. Officials say the one person who died was a 72-year-old man from Georgia who collapsed on the ship's deck. No official word yet. Vacations are supposed to be fun and relaxing, but that has not been the case for thousands of cruise ship passengers this week. First, a tour bus crash killed 12 Americans on a shore excursion from their cruise in Chile, and then more than 100 rooms on board another ship were damaged by fire. Brianna Keeler reports from Washington on how to make sure your vacation is a safe one.
Marion Diamond, Hans and Maria Eggers.
In New Jersey, friends of the victims of a tour bus crash in Chile are in a state of shock. While on a shore excursion from their celebrity cruise liner, the victims used a company that was not endorsed by the cruise line and, according to the Chilean National Tourism Service, was not legally registered to conduct tours.
What we cannot do is tell guests what to do on their own time. So our guests do oftentimes go off on their own excursions.
Research can be the key to choosing a tour operator that has cleared at least a few standards. The United States Tour Operator Association, a group that represents tour operators with U.S. management, keeps a list of companies that have 18 references from industry sources, 3 years under the same management, and $1 million in professional liability insurance. There was another travel tragedy in past days, a fire Thursday morning on board the Princess cruise liner Star Princess as it sailed in the Caribbean. One person died of a heart attack, 11 others suffered smoke inhalation. Despite these scary images, a cruise industry representative says cruise ships are very safe, equipped with firefighter response teams, miles of fire hose, and thousands of smoke alarms and sprinklers.
Much more immediate and capable response than you have in virtually any building in this country.
Cruise lines say they thoroughly investigate any operator that they recommend to passengers to make sure they're safe. If you need to book your own tour operator, make sure you check with your travel agent ahead of time to make sure they are reputable. In Washington, I'm Brianna Keeler.
Americans William Levada and Sean O'Malley are now princes of the Roman Catholic Church. They're among 15 archbishops from around the world chosen by Pope Benedict to be cardinals and elevated today in an elaborate outdoor ceremony in St. Peter's Square at the Vatican. Still to come on Newscenter 22, Amy Reef has the weekend forecast.
Tune in to WVUT this Friday night. Watch Washington Week in Review at 8, now at 8:30. On Scientific American Frontiers at 8:30, the best-kept secret of American archaeology is now revealed. An entire canyon of perfectly preserved 1,000-year-old remains. Tavis Smiley follows at 9:30. At 10, Monty Python's Personal Best offers Michael Pellin's favorite moments from the British sketch comedy. Friday night on WVUT.
Well, Amy, gray skies have entered our area. Will they be here all weekend?
Well, unfortunately, the blah weather is going to stick with us throughout the weekend, but maybe a good weekend to catch a movie or just curl up on the couch. Good evening, everyone. As we take a look outside, we currently have partly cloudy skies and 43 degrees. Wind is out of the west-southwest at 9 miles per hour. Humidity is at 53%, and the barometric pressure is at 30.26 and steady. As we take a look at some area temperatures, cloudy all around. Sullivan, Indiana, 40 degrees. Princeton is at 39. And over in Illinois, Robinson is at 39 degrees and Omni is at 40. As we look at our national temperature map, you can see we have chilly temperatures across the Northeast and the Midwest. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is currently at 38 degrees. And in the South, things are heating up just a little bit. We have Houston, Texas at 62 degrees and Phoenix, Arizona is at 74. As we take a look to see our cold and highs of the nations, we currently have Rapid City, South Dakota at 26 degrees and Miami, Florida is at 74. Looking at our surface map, pretty blah in the Northeast and the Midwest, pretty dreary as systems continue to push their way through, producing light and moderate rain showers, mixing in some snow around the Chicago area. In the South, sunny skies as things continue to heat up, but as we move along the coast, we get to the Carolinas where they're experiencing some rain as well and less than nice conditions. In the midsection of our country, sunny skies but cooler than normal temperatures, and out on the west coast, sun and warmth in the southern half around San Francisco, but in the northern half, they're going to be experiencing some more rain and snow as this upper low system continues to move its way in, producing anywhere from 6 to 12 inches of precipitation. Now let's take a look at your forecast. Tonight, mostly cloudy with a low of 28 degrees. Tomorrow, partly cloudy with a high of 45. And tomorrow night, partly cloudy with a low of 30. Now for your extended forecast. Sunday, partly cloudy, high of 49, low of 33. Monday, some rain in the forecast with a high of 51 and a low of 44. Tuesday, partly cloudy with a high of 59 and a low of 37. And Kurt, that's a look at your weather.
Thanks, Amy. Still to come on News Center 22, Kristen Miller will have the latest on Barry Bonds' lawsuit, plus highlights from last night's NCAA basketball tournament. Stay with us.
The public is invited to attend Meet Your Legislators on Saturday, March 25th at 9 a.m. in Davis Hall on the Vincennes University campus. The forum will include information from area legislators, followed by a question and answer session. Viewers can phone in their questions the day of the show to 812-888-5334 or send your email questions to wvut@vinu.edu. Our live broadcast begins at 9 a.m. The show will be rebroadcast that same day on WVUT at 5 p.m.
Slugger files lawsuit. Good evening, everyone. For TV 22 Sports, I'm Kristen Miller. A judge in San Francisco has denied a bid by Barry Bonds' lawyers to block the authors and publishers from making money on a book, claiming the giant slugger used steroids and other performance-enhancing drugs. Bonds' attorneys say the book's authors, publisher Gotham Books and Sports Illustrated, should be held liable for publishing illegally obtained grand jury transcripts. In the letter, attorney Allison Wilkinson writes, "The true victim is not Barry Bonds, but the sanity and integrity of the grand jury process." Adam Morrison and J.J. Redick were the most explosive offensive players in men's college basketball this season. Both left the court last night in tears. UCLA is in the Oakland Regional Final after scoring the last 11 points in a 73-71 win over Morrison and the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Luke Richard Mbah-a-Moute hit the game-winning basket with 10 seconds left after stealing the ball from Derek Robio. Morrison finished with 24 points for the Bulldogs. J.J. Redick had a miserable shooting night while Duke was losing to LSU 62-54 in the Atlanta Regional. Redick missed 15 of his 18 shots while scoring 11 points in his final college game. A pair of freshmen carried the Tigers to victory over the top-seeded Blue Devils. Glenn Davis finished with 14 points, including a go-ahead free throw with 2:32 remaining. Fellow freshman Tyrus Thomas hit a pair of foul shots and a dunk in the final minute, while the Tigers were closing on an 11-2 run. Sheldon Williams had 23 points and 13 rebounds for the Blue Devils. Next up for LSU are the Texas Longhorns, who beat West Virginia 74-71 on Kenton Paulino's three-pointer at the buzzer. The Mountaineers tied the game when Kevin Pittsnoggle drained a three with 5 seconds left. But Paulino set Texas into the Final 8 for the first time in 3 years. Memphis cruised into the Oakland Regional Final with an 80-64 win over Bradley, setting up a meeting between the Tigers and UCLA. Rodney Carney dropped in 23 points and led a stingy defense that forced 14 turnovers in the first half alone. Darius Washington Jr. chipped in 18 points, while Sean Williams added 12 points and 8 rebounds to the Tigers' 7th straight win. 11th-seeded George Mason looks to continue its dream season tonight when it takes on Wichita State in one of 4 regional semifinals on tap in the NCAA tournament. The other games pit Connecticut against Washington, Villanova against Boston College, and Georgetown versus Florida. The Indiana Pacers host the Detroit Pistons tonight. It's the second game for Jermaine O'Neal after coming back from a long layoff with a left torn groin muscle. Jamal Tinsley has also returned after missing time with a back injury and sinus infections. Austin Crozier will miss the game because of concussion symptoms. The Golden State Warriors had no answer for Dirk Nowitzki Thursday night, but Jason Richardson had the last word. Richardson hit a three-pointer in the final second to give the Warriors a 122-121 win over the Mavericks in Dallas. Richardson poured in 40 points to help the Warriors overcome 51 points from Nowitzki. Dallas also lost its share of the lead in the NBA's Western Conference standings, falling a half a game behind San Antonio. Forest Park and Fort Wayne Harding don't need extensive scouting reports for their Class 2A title showdown tomorrow at Conseco Fieldhouse. They also played for the championship a year ago. Last year, the Forest Park Rangers came from 5 points down after 3 quarters and beat Harding 68-63. Forest Park is ranked number 1 in 2A. Harding is unranked. 7 of its 9 losses in the regular season were to Class 4A schools. That's one of 4 state title games on tap tomorrow in Indianapolis. Pending NHL approval, the sale of the St. Louis Blues is complete. The Blues announced today that the team and the Savvis Center will be sold to sports entrepreneur David Checketts. A loose locks the Blues into St. Louis through the 2011 season, but Checketts says he has absolutely no plans to leave the Gateway City. Bill and Nancy Laurie put the team up for sale last summer, saying they had lost millions of dollars. Jim Furyk and Davis Love III share a 2-shot lead heading into the second round of the Players' Championship in Florida. Furyk and Love opened with 7 under par 65s, 2 better than Robert Allenby, Bernhard Langer, and Manuel A. Jimenez. Javissing a 6 players at -4 with Tiger Woods begins the day with 7 shots back. A bad back has forced Andre Agassi to pull out of the NASDAQ 100 Open, which means he'll miss the tournament for the first time since he debuted in the Key Biscayne event in 1987. Agassi turns 36 this next month, and while he hopes rest will help his back, he acknowledges he might be unable to play again. And Kurt, that's a look at sports.
Thanks, Kristen. Still to come on Newscenter 22, Jenny Mills reports on New York Central Park Coyote. Stay with us.
Austin City Limits celebrates 30 years featuring two singer-songwriters with distinctly different styles. Damien Rice.
It's not hard to fall when you float like a cannonball.
And an emotional journey from Patty Griffin.
For 2 days, a coyote outran officials on the ground and in the air in Central Park, New York. Finally, they caught it Wednesday morning, shooting it with a tranquilizer dart. Officials say it came from upstate New York, and that's where they are returning it. Jeannie Mose reports.
You're looking at a tranquilized coyote after an anything but tranquil chase.
Through the fence?
That is one elusive and quick coyote that has cops going in circles.
This year-old coyote has become a star.
Actually very attractive male coyote.
Nicknamed Hal, he apparently made his way into Manhattan from woodsier areas upstate. When he was sighted in Central Park, the NYPD mobilized with tranquilizing jab sticks and dart guns. News choppers circled as Hal managed to stay just out of reach of his pursuers. And just when you thought he had nowhere to run, he took a leap.
Whoa, he's swimming.
Swimming under a bridge, leaving landlocked pursuers in his wake.
There he goes.
You'd go too if you had a cop with a gun shadowing you, and we do mean shadowing.
This guy's fast.
Faster than Wile E. Coyote. Unlike Wile, this guy got his bird.
I thought it was a wolf at first, and it was running after a bird.
The Central Park Conservancy staff have observed at least one pile of feathers.
Either duck or, more likely, pigeon. As the hunt for Hal continued, so did the one for Vivi. Remember the Westminster show dog, the whippet that escaped from her cage at JFK Airport last month? Vivi! Well, there have been a dozen or so apparent sightings of Vivi near this cemetery in Queens. One guy even fed a dog that fits her description, Italian bred, through the cemetery fence. One of Vivi's owners has flown back to New York and set traps baited with roasted chicken. Maybe that would have worked on Hal.
He's like lightning. Breaking news from Central Park. They've captured that coyote.
Hal was eventually cornered somewhere near this fence and shot with a tranquilizer dart.
I fired one dart at the coyote.
Sedated but safe, Hal will be returned to the wilds. He was never a danger to humans, just pets. And unlike that other wily coyote, at least Hal wasn't a danger to himself. Jeannie Mose, CNN, New York.
And that's all for tonight. Have a great weekend. For Amy Reef and Kristen Miller, I'm Kurt Maddox. Good night.